Bhavin, sir.
Yes, come in.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
Please be seated.
Thank you, sir.
Are you vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
No symptoms of COVID, I believe.
No, sir.
You may remove your mask.
Thank you, sir.
Please introduce yourself to the board, highlighting your educational qualification and experience, if any.
Sir, I am Ajey Singh Rathore from Jaipur, Rajasthan. I did my schooling from SMS school. After that, I pursued the degree of MBBS from AIMS Jodhpur. After this, I started preparing for civil services, and in the last attempt of CSE, I joined Railway Protection Force as assistant commandant.
You are already working in the railways.
Sir, I've joined yesterday only, and I've taken
I
a
joined
EOL.
yesterday only. So you must not be very familiar with the working of Indian Railways.
No, sir.
Okay, so let me ask you a few questions about the medical science only, or the medical infrastructure only, or medical system. Healthcare in India is supposed to be the most corrupt in the country, with exorbitant billing by private sector hospitals, corporate hospitals, non-merit based selection of candidates in medical colleges, your questionable practices in case of organ transplant and all that. So, do you agree with this perception?
Sir, there are some bad fishes in the water which are maybe bringing bad name to it. But still, I'll say the institute I have studied in, the teachers I've seen working them. I've seen a lot of dedication to remove the patient's suffering. And in that, I see overall, sir, doctors still keep on working for the larger sake of humanity, and COVID pandemic was one such example where they stood on the forefront of the disease. They risked their life to save humanity, and we successfully came out of it also. So I think on larger cause, still good hopes remain in the...
So doctor, you are such a qualified doctor, so much of passionate about your humanity and all that, so you want to serve the humanity, and why are you wanting to run away from the medical field to join a general post?
Sir, in fact, I feel very fortunate to be somebody from medical fraternity and having learned medical sciences. But in my experiences when I worked in PHC, I came in contact with the health schemes in motion. For instance, in Rajasthan, there's an innovative scheme of generic medicine by Dr. Samit Sharma. And this has really transformed the lives of patients. I have myself benefited it has enabled me to affect the lives of thousands of people. So now I feel that I should be working more towards the administrative side, where I can create an impact for more lives.
Suppose if you get into the Indian administrative service, however hard you may try, you can't defend the practices happening in most of the corporate hospitals, where money is playing a very important role, be it diagnostics, be it any other area of treatment. Patient has to pay through his or her nose. So how are you going to regulate private sector hospitals?
Sir, one thing which has already been successfully launched is the Ayushman Bharat scheme, which aims to cover the vulnerable section so that they don't have to bear the excessive out-of-pocket expenditure. But beyond that, there is a need to expand the ambit of Clinical Establishment Act, which is currently a central government act and restricted to central universities, for instance, AIMS. So we need to probably go for a larger scope of it in terms of covering health institutes too. Then we can see a regulation of private sector.
Why there was need for the government to switch over from Hippocratic Oath to Charak Oath?
Sir, I'm not aware about the switch over. There was one proposal with NMC, but government has said that they are continuing with the Hippocrates Oath, but only in institutes like AIMS. For example, I myself have taken the Charak's Oath. In AIMS it is practiced. Apart from that, Hippocrates Oath is continued.
What is the rationale behind it? What philosophical message does it convey? Just from one oath to another oath, what is the change in the whole philosophical ethos?
Sir, the ethos remains same, sir. That is serving the humanity. The form of commitment varies. For example, Hippocrates Oath from its origin has been transformed into many oaths now. Most of the countries have adopted their own version or a modified version of the original Hippocrates Oath, because the original oath starts with worshipping Greek gods and all, which is not relevant to other cultures. So in case of India, we have a very strong tradition or a very rich legacy of health practices also. So I think a oath which is in line with India's indigenous culture will inspire us to progress ahead in future also, sir.
So it's a welcome move.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Ajey Singh Rathore.
Yes, sir.
You have been invited as guest speakers on some occasions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Today I again invite you as guest speaker to speak something about India's successful tackle of COVID-19.
Thank you so much for this invitation as a guest speaker. In terms of India's successful tackling of COVID pandemic, I remain very enthusiastic when I speak over it, because India, when the COVID first wave came and the systems of countries like Italy, other were devastated. At that time, nobody had any hope from India that it will be able to sustain such a pandemic. And in that, we were not only able to restrict the spread of virus in first wave, to successfully building supply chains by the time of second wave, and to building a very own indigenous vaccine, that is Covaxin. And now more than 4 candidates of vaccine are already in market because of India's innovative or entrepreneurial potential. Beyond that, as a general society also, I'm very much impressed by the social harmony we have discovered in that time, in times of crisis, where we were maybe reluctant to talk to our neighbors, restricted in our 4 walls. Now we are ready to help each other. We were making WhatsApp groups, social media connections to bridge this gap of humanity. So this inspires me for a better future of humanity also, sir.
Any future plan? Any future measures yet to be undertaken?
Sir, in future measures, I think mostly the measures have to be in balancing the health priorities and economic growth now. We have to ensure that the protection dose or the booster dose, it is known, is covering the wide expanse of population, so that we don't risk another wave. We have to build our screening or surveillance capacity, so that if a new mutation does come up, we are ready with to tackle it. And at the same time, opening our gates so that economic activity also progresses ahead.
Ajey, Rajasthan is the land of forts. Many forts are there.
Yes, sir.
And you are from Jodhpur. Are you from Jodhpur?
Sir, I am from Jaipur. I did my medical education in Jodhpur.
That is from Jodhpur. Okay,
Yes,
no problem. Jodhpur fort is different from other forts of Rajasthan. Do you have any idea about this?
Sir, though every fort has something unique about it, Jodhpur particularly is a fort. The Mehrangarh fort is built on a very high hill. So there are only 2-3 forts of similar kind in Jaipur. One is Amer, Nargad, and other forts are on ground. So this is one new thing about Mehrangarh fort. Apart from it, the defenses of Mehrangarh fort are celebrated as by military strategists.
Any living fort?
Sir, as far as I remember, Jaisalmer fort is one fort which is the living fort in Rajasthan, where people continue to live with the tradition.
Ajey, what is the role played by Rathore dynasty in Indian history, that is medieval history particularly?
Sir, Rathore dynasty has been spread out in some kingdoms. For example, Jodhpur and Mandor were Rathore dynasties. In Madhya Pradesh, Jawar dynasty, and some dynasties in Gujarat belong to it. So one important role was in safeguarding the frontiers, because this lies in the western part of India, and most of the invasions they were tackling at the forefront. This was one step. And second, they continued to maintain the sovereignty of the kingdom. There have been multiple attempts, including by the Mughals, to establish a supremacy, but at that time also the sovereignty remained of this region. Beyond that, they were skilled military strategists, and they laid down strategies for guerrilla warfare. And not just in military and protection, in terms of art and culture also, a diverse contribution has been there. For example, Jodhpur style of painting.
Who was Durga Dasaratha?
So Durga Dasaratha is one famous Rathore nobleman. His role is regarded in terms of protecting Ajey Singh, who was the heir of Jaswant Singh, but he was not recognized by Aurangzeb. So at that time, he not only protected him, but provided guardianship for 18 years.
The last question from my side. Do you remember any important movie, name of any movie, which has been made on the social problems of Rajasthan?
Oh, very sorry, sir. I cannot recall it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Ajey,
Yes, sir.
you did your MBBS from Jodhpur, right? A few years back, there were massive stampede occurred in Mehrangarh Fort in a temple.
Yes, sir.
Suppose if you will be posted as a district magistrate, then how you will be able to handle such type of situation?
Sir, to deal with the situation of stampede, we need to take actions before the disaster happens and at the time of disaster.
What would be?
Yes, sir. Before it, we have to increase the general awareness of public in terms of educating. For example, there is a guideline of National Disaster Management Authority, like curling down on the floor, and such advices should be there so that we don't lose life. Second, in places of such religious importance where we expect a huge footfall, we need to barricade the roads and regulate the movement of people. There is a strategy again of release and open of movement of people so that no flooding happens, flooding in of people in a location happens. Beyond that, sir, in spite of this also, one more thing I like to add in the first part is the use of loudspeaker or centralized control mechanism to regulate crowd. When the disaster happens also, even in spite of these measures, some disaster happens. So we have to ensure a quick access to medical facilities so that we are able to provide healthcare facilities in that golden hour of life. And we need to learn from the disaster and build on our future methods also.
I am giving you another situation. Suppose you are posted in Prayagraj and Kumbh Mela is ongoing. You have to provide the whole healthcare system for the crowd, right? How you will provide them?
Sir, first I like to generate some data on the based availability of healthcare infrastructure in Prayagraj already existing and an expected number of people which might be needing it. Based on these statistics, I like to plan my strategy. One of the existing component will be to upgrade the existing PHC or health workforce infrastructure, including borrowing of human resources from nearby districts where we have surplus to the region in times of need. Also raising the capacity of volunteer force who can act in such kind of disasters, such circumstances, and then building some connections or some localized hospitals or some makeshift hospitals in the vicinity of such organized camps so that immediate care can be provided to such people.
Tell me something about the role and importance of healthcare system for hospitality management. Rajasthan is known for the hospitality. Padharo Maro Desh.
Yes, sir. Healthcare, sir, one prominent which I can think is a health tourism, which adds flavor to all the tourism. For instance, India is a dominant country in terms of global tourists who are seeking medical care, and at the same time they want to have the luxury of landscape and affordable facilities. So healthcare can attract such segment of people. This is one thing. And second, healthcare is never works in silos. It has association with social determinants, for example, sanitation, water supply availability. So if we are able to improve our hygiene standards, prevent antimicrobial resistance, so then hospitality also improves and general public welfare also improves in the country, sir.
Just point out 3 good things and 3 bad things in Marwadi culture of Jodhpur.
So it's easy to point out the good things in culture. For instance, the music is one of the attraction of our culture. Second thing is the possibility that every household nearly is having access to paintings and culinary habits which is shared across the people. Third thing which I appreciate most is the hospitality of the people. It is world recognized that Marwadi people don't shy away from offering their hospitality. They always accept.
So why they offer all the time gatte ki sabji?
Sir, one of my personal favorites also. There are 2 reasons to it, sir. One is it is delicious. Second is gatte ki sabji is derived from besan, which is a gram. So it grows in low water conditions also. So it's easy and resilient to climate changes or rainfall. So in places like Rajasthan, you can easily grow in surplus and then provide for hospitality also.
Any bad things?
Bad things, sir, there are some social things which are continuing from past, which are not relevant or say outdated to the current context. For example, increased female infanticide, early child marriages, and still Rajasthan performs poorly in terms of female literacy. These are 3 things which I noticed.
Ajay, do you believe that a religious person could be ethical all the time?
Sir, most of the religions have a evolution from ethics only. So most of the time they can or they act ethical or they will be ethical if they follow religion, but it's not 100% rule.
What are the other determinants of ethics apart from religion?
Other is, sir, our education, our family upbringing, which plays a role, the teachers, like you people guiding us. So this is one thing. And beyond all the things is personal conscience, which develops from the things we intentionally acquire or unintentionally acquire also.
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
You talked about Clinical Establishment Act.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think any states have adopted it or neither of the states have adopted it?
Ma'am, states have adopted a modified version based on their circumstances.
How many states have adopted it first of all?
Ma'am, I don't recall the count, but Rajasthan has adopted it.
What modification it has done?
For example, like Clinical Establishment Act of Center completely bans the private practice for all the doctors. So in AIIMS like institute, there is no private practice. But Rajasthan has given a provision that they can consult at their home provided they don't work in another private hospital, and the fees has also been regulated by the government. So certain modifications have been done by the state.
So which do you prefer? Should doctors be allowed to practice after the duty hours?
Ma'am, I think it has to be a gradual evolution, but overall I will prefer a way where doctors fully commit themselves to the institution they are working in. I have been trained in such an institution like AIMS, so I prefer this modality.
So why are you saying gradual evolution? Why can't we, if they are employed, they're getting a decent salary, why can't we restrict them to hospitals?
Ma'am, I feel there is a shortage of doctors currently in country, and specialized doctors, such highly skilled doctors at their age of more than 40. So if we completely cut off these people from providing healthcare facility to people, then in immediate terms it will be difficult.
So don't you think the charges private hospitals do and charges AIMS is taking, there's a basic conflict of interest there? They'll take patients to the private hospitals, and which happens very frequently.
Practicing in private hospital is banned in most of the states, as I remember. They can work in their clinics where the fees is regulated.
Same logic. I'll take my patients to my clinic. Why would I attend to it in government hospital?
In government hospitals, first we are committed as a duty, we have to work for the duty hours, and in that there's also a policy of no refusal to patient. If a doctor visits government hospital, if a patient visits...
But do you actually agree that quality of services doctors give in their private clinic and they give in hospital is same quality?
I have not personally experienced state colleges, but I feel, ma'am, no doctor will give a half prescription or half treatment in terms of it.
So only prescription is the way of attending to patients, do you think?
Ma'am, that's why in first I feel that we have to create a workforce which is fully dedicated. Even if we ban the private practice in the end, then at home time, even when they are not seeing patients, they are thinking about ways to improve their capacity or working in welfare of patient.
How do you do that?
For example, in my own institute, teachers, after they go home, they continue to engage in research works, they write research papers, which increases their...
So that's what I am asking. How do we develop that kind of culture?
Ma'am, first we have to go for the banning of practices at home. We have to increase their NPAs.
Don't you think you're contradicting yourself? You just said they should be allowed and then you're saying it should be banned.
Ma'am, it has to be banned, but it has to be gradually banned. We cannot stop in a day.
Okay, no problem. Let's come to integrative medicine. What's happening in the field of integrative medicine as of now in India?
I'm very sorry, I'm not aware about the term integrative medicine.
You have never heard of integrative medicine? AIMS is coming with an integrative medicine unit.
I'm very sorry, ma'am.
Okay. If I ask you, what are the norms for a PHC and CHC? What kind of population do we cater to in a PHC?
In terms of norm which are provided by Government of India for PHCs, it caters to a population of 20,000 to 30,000 of people under it.
You sure?
Ma'am, I can be wrong, ma'am. I'm not very sure about the exact...
Okay, what about CHC?
Very sorry, ma'am. I can't recall the exact number.
Okay. What are the basic functions attributed to ASHA worker? What are they supposed to do?
ASHA workers are supposed to be the first contact of population, or to bridge the gap between healthcare workforce and people.
Okay, what kind of diseases they can manage?
It includes they provide pregnancy related care, anemia treatment at home. They do hemoglobin test, and based on which anemia treatment, they give anti-malarial drugs to the people.
So what are the guidelines if they get a patient of fever? What are they supposed to do?
Ma'am, there are different guidelines for children and for adults. For example, there's a complete protocol, I mean say a protocol for children. They have to classify patient into that. There are proper guidelines. For example, if a patient of fever comes with complication, for example, convulsions and not able to feed, so such patient has to be immediately referred after giving a primary antibiotic which is available. Other patients, based on their severity, are to be managed in those circumstances.
Okay. You said Ayushman Bharat scheme is doing well. How many families or how many percentage of population it covers?
It covers the bottom 40% of the population based on socio-economic caste census.
40% it covers?
The ambition is this only, ma'am.
And what about health insurance coverage? How many people in India do you think have insurance coverage?
Ma'am, 40% is of Ayushman Bharat. Is I'm aware of. I'm not aware about the private insurance which people are taking, but I'm aware about the missing middle gap, which is a big...
What is that missing middle concept?
That is, the lower 40% are covered by Ayushman Bharat, and the higher segment, which is less than 10%, is taking private insurance. Rest of the people in the middle, they cannot afford the insurance fees, they are not aware of the insurance, at the same time they are not under government programs, so they are missing from the coverage.
Okay, my last question to you, how do we classify essential medicines and how many medicines are there currently?
I'm aware, ma'am, that essential medicine are a group of, or category of medicines which government has created.
You talked about generic medicine, right? So in essential medicines list, how many medicines are there in that?
I'm not sure about the exact number of medicines in the list.
Okay, take a guess.
As far as I remember, 738 is the number I recall, but I'm not very sure on that.
Okay, so you don't know what all medicines are included in there?
Ma'am, I have prescribed
what
myself.
happens if we categorize a medicine as essential medicines?
It enables government to regulate the prices of those medicines. Government prescribes the higher limit on which it can be sold. It can be sold in the market. These are the things, and it has to be available at the government hospital at all costs. This is
okay. So is there any connection between generic medicines and essential medicines as such?
Ma'am, generic medicines are medicines which are out of patent. That is, they are not covered under patent law, so other companies can also manufacture it at affordable cost. So generic medicine in current terms is used to cover two types of medicines. One, for example, the paracetamol, for instance, is one which is out of brand, but still companies like Dolo are manufacturing it. So this also covers. And there is a second category which, for example, Government of India buys, and it buys from a dedicated vendor, and it's completely free of cost for the people. So it covers two broad categories.
What? Generic medicine?
Yes, ma'am.
I was asking, is there any connection between generic medicines and essential medicines?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, those medicines which are in the list of essential medicines are off patent only, ma'am.
Are of patent. There are no generic medicines in the essential medicines list, you think?
All of the list is generic medicines, ma'am.
All?
Yes, ma'am.
You sure?
This is what I understand about the concept.
Oh, thank you.
Ajay, looking at Russia-Ukraine situation,
yes, ma'am,
would it be right to say that UN has failed?
Ma'am, in terms of specifically the situation, UN has not been that effective as it was believed or it was created for the purpose.
Why do you think UN is failing itself again and again?
Because I think, as India again and again says, that it was created for post-World War II realities, and it doesn't suit the contemporary world, which has changed a lot.
Okay, one of our neighbors is going through an economic crisis. Which one is it?
Sri Lanka.
Okay, despite that Sri Lanka was not supportive to our endeavors, we are trying to bail them out.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of foreign policy do you think it is? Is it a healthy precedent in terms of international arena?
Yes, ma'am. It lines very much in terms of Gujarat doctrine, that India doesn't seek reciprocity in terms of helping its neighbor. We have to show.
But do you think it's pragmatic to not expect reciprocity from anybody? I mean, isn't it not sustainable?
We expect reciprocity from the countries which are more developed in terms of our dealing. For example, we are going for free trade agreements which benefit both the countries. But there are countries which are in India's neighborhood which can have a spillover impact, for example, refugee crisis, if the condition deteriorates. So here the policy of magnanimity serves our interest.
What are three most important tenets of Act East policy? Not Look East, Act East policy.
Act East aims to build over the Look East policy. So it expands the coverage of the countries which had earlier envisaged in terms of, and it aims to provide connectivity also, not just the economic integration, but the connectivity to these countries. For example, the trilateral highway which India was building is an outcome. And third thing is, it aims to seek development of Northeast region through the integration or say connection with the southern eastern countries.
Can you name the roadways that we are envisaging in Northeast in the Act East policy?
I recall two particular roadways. One is Kaladan project, which comes from Myanmar, and second is a trilateral highway, which
What is the name of it? It has a specific name to it. Are you able to recall the name?
I recall trilateral highway only till Thailand.
It's all right. Let's say US wants to use India as a base to address problems in Afghanistan.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think we should let them do that?
Ma'am, in terms of cooperation for helping Afghanistan,
making India as a base. To maybe...
I don't agree with this policy of making India as a base, because India is a sovereign country and it's respect its sovereignty the most.
They are not conquering us, they are asking for our permission.
Ma'am, but if a base is established, the activities are controlled by the country which is working on the base, and it can have a detrimental effect for our foreign policy also.
What is our current foreign policy? If you have to sum it up in 3 lines.
Ma'am, I like to quote External Affairs Minister in this. India is a country which respects UN Charter, territorial integrity, human rights of other countries, and in this light only it seems to charter its own national interest.
All right, you're a doctor. Let's talk about economics. Please tell me, do we have GST on any kind of medicines?
Ma'am, I don't recall this provision.
Okay, do we have GST on vaccines?
Ma'am. Sorry, very sorry, ma'am.
Do we have GST on education?
I think there is a GST of 5% on education, as far as I recall.
Okay, so I should presume that you have no idea about GST.
Ma'am, in these questions, ma'am, sorry, I don't.
Can you tell me what is National Monetization Plan?
Ma'am, it is the scheme which aims to monetize the resources which are currently lying idle with the government. For example, excess land in central PSUs, and the funds which we will get from these disinvestment or monetization plan.
Is it disinvestment?
Ma'am, disinvestment is one part of it, but there are other methods. For example, toll operate transfer model, which also helps to monetize. In this, there is no disinvestment of the resources. So there are other things which are used to generate more revenues.
Okay. How do you see NMCs as a body?
I see it as a progressive step ahead, moving from, there were a lot of inadequacies highlighted by MCI. In terms of that, it has done one good job in terms of removing the conflict of interest by creating 4 autonomous boards.
But bar councils are made up of lawyers only. So why should NMCs have outsiders and not just doctors? What is the need? What different does NMC do than any other professional body?
Ma'am, National Medical Commission aims to regulate the entire medical setup and not just doctors. For example, there is IMA which caters to doctors' interest, but NMC has to consider the interest of, say, research community, say, patients at large. So a wider representation will make the board more inclusive.
So do you believe that civil services board should also have experts from other arenas and not just, civil servants? What is your opinion on that then?
Civil services board, which is highlighted by, what I understand, is aimed to for a restricted purpose as compared to NMC. It aims to insulate the civil servants from the political pressure.
My last question to you is, please enlighten the board with 3 things that you think can obstruct your selection as a civil servant.
With 3 things which obstruct my...
Which you think can obstruct in your personality, 3 things which can obstruct your selection as a civil servant.
Allow me a moment to think, because all these time I have been building on the things which can make me into the services. Ma'am, I can think of one thing. I'm not able to think the 3 things. So this is my shortcoming.
Oh, this is your shortcoming, that you're not able to think of 3 things?
Yes, ma'am, this is...
Shall we presume you have no weakness at all?
No, ma'am, there will be many more to come, ma'am, I feel, because I've not seen the world yet. I'm very young. So there will be 1,000 more weakness I'll find and I have to work upon, I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ajay, in the context of ease of doing business, as you are aware, in the year 2011, India's rank was 132, which plummeted to 144 in the year 2014. Perception is the reason for such state of affairs was primarily policy paralysis, second reason was corruption, and third reason was cronyism. Do you subscribe to this view that these were the 3 reasons which led to its decline in the ranking from 132 to 144?
Yes, sir. Though I have limited knowledge of that time, sir. But yes, there were inadequacies in terms of proactive policy making to address the issues for ease of doing business, and India has been long recognized as a region for crony capitalism or increased regulations which impede the successful establishment of business, because at the time when India's focus shifted to ease of doing business, it used to take more than 2 years to establish a company and more than 10 years at times to dissolve a company. So these things impeded our growth, sir.
Now India has made rapid progress and it stands somewhere at 76, 77 in the rank. What all measures have been taken by the government to ensure such a good position from 144 to 76?
Sir, India particularly focused on all the parameters which were used by ease of
Name a few parameters.
Yes, sir. For example, India is building logistic. It has developed the scheme of Sagarmala, Bharatmala Pariyojana.
Okay, logistic is one.
Yes, sir. It bought the single window scheme for registration of the companies and for seeking assistance.
Okay.
This is one thing I remember.
Any decisive measures taken in the area of labor laws, land reforms?
We have, sir, notified 4 codes in terms of managing labor laws. Code on Social Security, Industrial, Social Security, Gig Workers Regulation, and such codes have been notified by the government. These are the steps. And land reform also.
Thank you very much, Ajay. Your interview is over. You may go now.
Thank you, sir.
Sit, Ajay. So, how was your experience, and how do you evaluate your performance?
Sir, it goes too fast always, sir. I can't understand.
Why are you in such a hurry to respond? Why can't you collect your thoughts and then respond? At least you should appear to be collecting your thoughts,
Yes, sir.
isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It is spontaneous. There's nothing wrong in this.
Yes, sir.
You are very natural. Interview overall is excellent, no doubt about it. But you can still do better, much better. This is your first experience at the interview with UPSC.
Sir, I have done previously also.
One or two?
Once only.
Once. Last year?
Yes, sir.
How much did you get?
Sir, it was decent, sir. 170, 180, around 180 something.
You are that candidate. You are capable of scoring 200 plus also.
Yes, sir.
All the good qualities of an administrator are there in you.
Yes, sir.
You are a very honest person. Honesty of purpose is there in your this thing. Body language is very positive. You can think over a range of subjects and variety of subjects. So we tried to cover all the things, and you are absolutely comfortable answering to those questions, because you are a doctor trying to become a civil servant. So you should anticipate some questions related to medical ethics. As a doctor, what will be your contribution to the society when you join the civil services? Those general type of questions. Then you select one or two areas and prepare yourself fully, that if such questions are asked, you can absolutely discuss in greater details. And there should not be any logical inconsistency in your approach at any stage. Private practice we should ban or we should not ban. Initially you said yes, then you said gradual, it's okay. But then it should not appear from your statement that there is any amount of inconsistency in that. That's the only thing. Because if you take that stand, it has to be gradual. There are reasons for that. If you say that no, it should be banned altogether, there are pitfalls of that also. So you understand that very well. To the extent possible, try to ensure that there is no logical inconsistency and your approach remains uniform all along. Otherwise, your level of energy is very good. At times, you laugh, which is good in a way because it comes naturally from you. But try to contain that, because all said and done, it's a formal movement. It's not an informal, you're not talking to your colleagues or friends or that. So try to just smile it out instead of laughing a lot. So it's better to smile, isn't it? With those words, I don't think we have anything much to suggest to you. You will be going in this dress only, or you will be
No,
wearing
I'm getting a suit, sir.
You are getting a suit and all that. So you are a good candidate for the civil services, and if you have really written your medical paper well, then there is no reason why you should not succeed.
Yes, sir.
You will be through the examination. The only thing is that we are praying that you get good marks in medical. You will be getting good marks in the Viva.
Yes, sir.
Any specific question if you want to ask?
Sir, one thing, like I was clear in my head that what I wanted to say for the inconsistency part. I wanted a gradual one.
That's all right.
Came out wrong, I think, maybe.
That is what I am saying.
Yes, sir.
We have to be careful about that only, because you see, you can't at this stage, when you are coming to such a final stage, at a threshold of success, you should not be erring on the wrong side. That is the only thing.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you are very good in communication skill, good personality, honesty of purpose is there, patience to listen questions, respond to questions also very well. So you can deal with variety of subjects also. So all those issues are not there. Only thing is that you are energetic also, quite lively, but thoughts, conjure up your ideas and then speak. It doesn't take much time, just few seconds, quick seconds, and then you will start. And the consistency has to be there, uniformity in approach. That's what. Whatever you say, you should not be speaking a lie. You should not be getting into any argument with the board members.
Yes, sir.
Two things are very important, and you should not be inconsistent.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you are almost there. All the best.
Thank you, sir.